I ask for a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting.
I make the motion to approve the meeting of the last meeting.
Second, please.
I second.
Thank you, Bobby, and thank you, Jan. Any discussion?
Not on the last minute.
Okay. Hearing no call for discussion, I ask for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? Minutes passed. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to Rich. Rich, can you give us your report?
Sure, John, thank you. What's been distributed to you is the August financials, and if you turn to page 8, that's the results of operations for the month of August and the 8 months ending August 31st.
Megan, can we bring that up? Okay, thank you.
Chairman?
It's the financials.
Yes, sir.
Financial
Minutes.
statements.
If you notice, I have
Page 8.
two flippies this time, Chairman Bob Detour. So I'm going to be very short on my questions. If I can ask the question before he goes on it, because he's already on page 8, and I have a question, very simple question to Rich on page 5 of 18.
Sure, Rich.
Okay.
Before I ask question, my dear sister Jen, good to see you. I'm glad you join in. And Linda, thank you. I'm not ignoring my brother Bill and Hab. So because Jen knows I'm funny. Bob Detour thing, my accent is very funny. So anyway, I'm happy. Thank you, sir. Since government making, I see your comment here on NHCC has recognized, and when you see then the second line, the word that you're using reclassified as FEMA revenue versus COVID. My simple question is this in our hospital benefit? If not, why not? If it's a yes, then you don't have to explain anything.
Yeah, right now, we're recognized as part of the CARES Act. We've submitted claims to FEMA, and if they accept them, we will get FEMA funding. So it'll become FEMA revenue rather than CARES Act revenue, and that would benefit us, Dr. Claudia.
It's benefit us. Thank you very much. I don't have no other question related to that. And if we can go to the next question on page 13 of 18.
Okay?
Chairman, it's going to be very painless question today. So I'm pretty much almost going to be done. So year to date, we are down 10,028 in our ER.
Yes.
But in the month of August, it is only down to 1,175. It looks like to me, the way I'm reading it, and I want to share with our distinguished board member, that is better than what it was. And if it is a better, I want to compliment Dr. Bhutan as well as Megan and their leadership coming out of a tough time and getting it in a better situation. So if you can tell me if it's a better, yes or no?
Is it, I didn't catch the last part, Dr. Claudia.
Let me repeat the question.
Is it better, you said?
Okay, we are down to year to date. Year to date, we are down 10,028.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
I'm talking about emergency room, okay?
Yes.
But month of August, we are only down 1,175. It looks like, the way I'm reading it, we are getting better.
Yes.
If we are getting better, I want to share with our distinguished board members and including the chairman's leadership to compliment Dr. Bhutan and Megan, and even maybe you. Maybe you have nothing to do with it, but I can give you credit anyway, for doing a good job for the hospital. And I like to congratulate and thank you and continue the work, a good work. My last question, and then I'm done.
Okay.
As I see the chairman, I have your permission for the last question.
Yes, please go ahead.
As I see the case mix index is up on the same page, 13 of 18, the first line is
Yes.
0.18. Can you be kind enough tell me or the board or the chair how much is worth 0.018? But if something you cannot mention publicly, please do not. But if you can, please state.
By being up about 1.18, it's about $1,900 per discharge. We normally get about 10,835 on average, and that 0.18 equates to about $1,900 in addition to that for around 13,000 rather than in round numbers 11,000.
Is that a straight extrapolation?
What was that?
Is that a straight extrapolation?
No, our average DRG across all of our services, we typically throughout a whole year, we get $10,835 per discharge.
Right.
That's on a case weight of 0.92 overall. If that goes up by almost 20%, that equates to just a little under $2,000 per
Right.
discharge.
But still it is up, and I want to say thank you. I appreciate. Chairman, I have no question. I'm done. You guys all might be surprised. My dear sisters and my brothers, I'm done with my questions.
Well, thank you for your questions. Rich, you want to pick up on page 8, I think you said?
Sure, yeah, that's where I'd just like to summarize the results, page 8 of 18. For the month, we had budgeted a loss of $7.5 million before OPEB and the state pension adjustment. We had a very favorable month. We lost 1.7 million compared to that for a favorable variance of $5.7 million for the month. Year to date for the 8 months, as we've been tracking, we had budgeted 57 million. You see that on the right side, about 2/3 of the way down, 57,346. Our current loss for the year to date is 37 million for a favorable variance of about $20 million. And that's a result of maintaining our expenses down, even though we're spending a significant amount for COVID, as we've talked about in the past. Year to date, we've spent $18 million on COVID-related expenses. About 4.7 of that is salary and fringes, and about 13 million of it is pharmaceuticals and protective gear for our employees. That if we did not spend that 9.6 million in the favorable variance on the total operating expense line would be favorable by that much more. So what we've been able to do is to maintain our salaries way below where we budgeted, even though we've been treating less patients. However, we've been treating more critically ill patients. And that's why our operating revenue, the top line, and the net patient service revenue isn't down as dramatically as you would have expected because of the intensity of the cases that we've been treating, to the point that Dr. Kaladi just made, that our case mix index has been up from April through now. It's coming back down to where we budgeted, but it's still up about 10%, a little over 10% from where we budgeted. So we're still seeing critically ill patients beyond what
Yeah.
we normally see.
Yeah, Rich, I noticed that also, and we attribute that to the COVID effect, but that seems to be lingering on. So I guess for Dr. Booton, is that something that's going to continue on, or do you see that, coming back to budget?
It's consistent. We've been watching that.
I can't hear you, Dr. Booton.
No, I said it's consistent. I've been tracking it. So we're at 80% of what we were last year.
Okay,
So
thank
we
you.
expect the CMI to return to the budgeted number within the next several months. Is that a fair assumption?
You mean the case mix?
Yeah.
No, the case mix is going to stay up because we're seeing sicker patients, and the volume is where it's. I'm not sure the volume will get to where it was last year, but right now we're at 80% of the volume, and the case mix index is there. So hopefully it'll stay exactly where it's at because we're getting sicker patients.
Yeah, I guess my question was, we attributed that to COVID initially. Is that something that's sustainable now that we are seeing sicker patients? And
No,
that's,
it's not just COVID, because we're just seeing sicker patients in general. I mean, I've been following that trend since April, May, and June. It's the same trend in terms of we're not seeing the volume, but we're seeing sicker patients in the emergency department or in the hospital.
okay, good to know. Thank you.
Chairman, I'm not supposed to ask another question because I said only 3. Since Rich had provided some information, may I ask a related
Of course.
question? Rich, question to you. Since you mentioned is 1900, when I mentioned 0.18, and you said 1900, would you have the number in case I cannot see it? How many total discharge we talking about?
Let me just point to the page it's on. It's on the previous page, on page 12.
I don't care about page it is as long as I know the numbers.
Okay, year to date, we've had 11,649 discharges, and of that, 1,117 are psych, which get paid on a per diem. So I would say about just a little over 10,000 discharges that we've seen year to date through August.
A month or a year?
Year to date.
Yeah.
For year to date is about 10,000. For the month,
No, that's okay. I just wanted to see if you guys paying attention what I'm saying. That's all. Just kidding. Thank you.
okay.
I've got a quick, John, could I? Rich, back on page 8, it's a nice, it's nice to have a $30 million variance in terms of the net position, but up on, under federal and state aid, we have a $27.7 million variance to the positive,
Right.
right? Can you explain that, what that is, and then how that would, if we didn't have that, how would that impact the bottom line?
Sure. Of that 27.7, 27.4 of it is the CARES Act revenue. And of that amount, 13.6 is for expenses incurred. That's at the 75% of the $18 million we have in COVID-related expenses, both labor and labor fringe and OTPS. What the lost revenue component of it is where it would change, that there's 13.8 million in lost revenue that we've attributed using old guidelines. And I say old guidelines, the guidelines that first came out when the CARES Act was first enacted. Those, as everybody knows, based upon the email you sent, Mr. Vitor, those have changed at the end of September. We have not impacted the financials in that regard because we're still assessing what that means to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that change is going from comparing last year's volumes and this year's volumes and the case mix to now a net bottom line comparison. So where we'll really see it is at the end of the year when we have a year-to-date loss versus last year's loss. And that'll be assessed. We'll try to do an assessment of that for the September financials and estimate it as we go forward. But it's going to be trued up at the end of the year.
Mhm. Okay. All right.
Okay, the only other thing I'd point out on that is the impact of all of this is can probably be better discussed with the second handout. Well, let me stop here and just ask if anybody has any questions on any of the specifics of the financials. The one other thing I'd point out, because it's been a point of discussion, on the page for the corrections facility, which is page 14. Page 14. The corrections contract that we've been discussing, that's in front of NYPA right now for their approval. Annually, we estimate $18 million, and we get that in an advance of $1.5 million a month. You can see for this 8-month period, we're running at just at $12 million, which is exactly at that advanced level. I just want to point that out because there's been some discussions of with the downturn in the inmates at the facility. I think the board needs to know we still run 2 health clinics there. We're seeing inmates on their units in the triage areas, and we have to test all of the inmates coming into the facilities for COVID and keep them quarantined for 5 days. So there's additional expenses, even though the number of inmates are down because of the bail reform and the COVID crisis that when they released them. But the expenses that we're incurring are still in line with what we were seeing even last year and historically since we've been doing this contract.
Message received.
Okay.
Good, Carl. You take that home with you, please.
I have a question,
Okay.
and I may have misread that, but I know that salary and fringe are under budget.
Yes.
And so where are the largest vacancies?
It's across the board. Salary and fringes are down because our volumes in general have been down. It's down at NUMIC, it's down at AHP, and it's down specifically in nursing.
Right.
Initially, that we attributed that, and it's been continuing when the crisis hit. We redeployed people that were in quality and in non-patient care areas to patient care areas. And that limited our use of overtime and agency. And as a result, throughout the crisis, our salary and fringes were below budget, which I give kudos to Dr. Booten on that because with the crisis being what it was, as everybody remembers, it was number one, it was at points, it was hard to get certain
Staff.
certain positions, particularly respiratory therapists, and we had to reach out across the country to get that. But other than that, we were able to maintain it with our existing staff and not incur as much cost as you would have otherwise thought.
I guess my concern comes from when the crisis is over, even though Dr. Booten said that you're seeing sicker patients, and so that helps to cover the cost. But I guess my concern is that if we have vacancies, that impacts the hospital's ability to deliver care, right? And so doesn't that just put us, I'm assuming that eventually, and maybe not, that the crisis will be over. So what happens then? Will we be hiring to fill vacancies, or will we be redeploying staff so we can see more patients and maybe get the volume up? I'm just curious, and maybe that's...
I guess, again, if the volume goes up, we'll be able to get staff. But we're also looking at the 2021 budget. And, our staff, we're getting ready to make sure that we're 20% leaner moving to 2021. Yes, we have some vacancies in nursing. We have some vacancies in the nursing aides and PCAs because we have a lot of psych patients. And we're using agency as much as we can to be able to do that. But the employees are not out there right now.
Okay.
We're doing what we can with what we have.
You're doing a great job, Dr. Booten. But I'm just
Chairman,
looking
may I?
for the next steps.
Chairman, may I? Chairman?
Thank you.
Jan, are you
Chairman.
finished?
Yes, I
Yes.
am. Thank you.
Okay, Bobby, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. And Jan, that's a great question. That was, you said it more eloquently than I would have. The bottom line is you saying, is there a compromise patient care or not? And I want to say thank you to the union, all the unions members who had very diligently, of course, under the leadership of the Chairman Bob Detour, had worked with Dr. Booten and Megan to making sure we are able to utilize all our employees in a best way. Should we? I raised that question several times that no patient care can be compromised regardless of what it is, and it cannot be compromised. So to me, I was told, and I believe Dr. Booten, since he took the leadership, he had assured me that there will be no compromise when it comes to the patient care. But thanks to the union, they was able to work together and deploy all our employees in the best they could use their talent without compromising the patient care. I think that's where we was able to use that funding more properly instead of wasting. Am I right, Dr. Booten, or am I wrong?
You're right, Bobby. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I have no question. It was only a compliment. Oh, by the way, since I'm there, when you said 1,900, 10,000 plus rich ER discharge, that's almost a $19 million. That's not a chump of change.
That's correct.
Thank you.
We've seen year to date around 22, 23 million drop in volume and a similar amount in an increase in case mix intensity reimbursement.
I just want to compliment because sometimes when you say only 1,900 and sometimes our math is maybe not the best and maybe your math is great. It is helpful when the members receiving a respectful numbers, then it's not in 1,900, it's altogether close to $20 million.
Right. Yeah, I was saying it on a per discharge basis.
Okay, but I just want you to know I pay very close attention. Whatever number you say, I watch it 10 times. I want you to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else on the operating report?
Okay. No, I don't. The next handout was the second handout that was provided. It's just a quick summary of the CARES Act funding that we received. In August, we received another $864,000, which brought our overall CARES funding to about $122 million. And what we've recognized in the financials, what that shows is what's in the financials in all of those months that are shown: March and April, May, June, July, August, and what's available still that we have not either spent or recognized as revenue. That we still will spend through the period July of 2021.
As I recall, Rich, was there supposed to be some decisions made about where that money would be applied? have an update on that or?
Well, we've been recording, like I said before, the lost revenue based upon the old guidelines. And the expenditures that we've been expending primarily for PPE and for pharmaceuticals is included in the financials. The one piece I guess we haven't talked about is the capital spend that we're looking at now, that will be attributed to the CARES Act. That's, I don't know if we're at a point where, I know we spent it on something. We spent it on the surgical robot. We're re-outfitting the dental clinic for negative pressure rooms and barriers. We're putting in security measures for turnstiles to secure the facility. And then we're going to be beefing up the medical records with Allscripts to provide telehealth.
Yeah, I recall that. Is there a plan or a timeline for those particular tasks?
Some are in process now. The future spend is probably the one thing that'll come to in front of the whole board later in the week is the renewal of the Allscripts agreement that we have.
Our electronic medical record.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions on this particular?
Yeah, I just maybe Rich, a little bit on cash flow, where we are. With cash flow.
Yeah, the second page of this handout shows where we are. If you went back to the financials, you'd see that we have $163 million in cash on the cash line on the balance sheet. In addition to that, we've talked about this a couple of times, we have non-committed district funds that we could assess of another 34 million for a total of 197, almost $200 million in cash. And of that amount, we will have to pay back the Medicare loan. They've held off on that, and they were originally supposed to start taking that back in August. Medicare has decided not to do that, and they're going to come out with, when they're planning to take that back. It is still a loan. There's been talk about that being a grant, but that has not been legislated in. And then the other piece is those unearned CARE Act dollars, the 90 million that we haven't recognized yet, that if for any reason we did not spend that, we would have to return that to the Treasury. So when you reduce it by those two, we have unrestricted cash balance of 81 million. And it's made up of the district of 34, and the remaining amount is what we have in CARES that we've recognized we have not spent. Because you can see the CARES Act, we still have, as of August, we still have the whole 122 million that we received, even though we've recognized that on the financials as either lost revenue or spent it. Being under budget has allowed us to hold on to those funds and not spend it so far. The only thing I'd point out is I put down on below there the current liabilities. We have $1.5 billion in liabilities, and that just puts it in the context of where our financial net position is right now. The one other thing I'd point out is, and we've talked about this in the last two meetings, in September, we received $50 million in district funds. That's not reflected here because it was received on September 30th. It'll be in the September financials. And like I said last time, we'll be able to record that as revenue because there's no strings attached to that. That was a high performance bonus that the state granted to the NQP PPS of $127 million. So the 50 million that we received, that's not in the 81 million. If we were to put that in, we'd have unrestricted cash of 131 million.
And we'll see that in next report, in next financial report?
Yeah, we received it on September 30th.
Okay.
So how about in terms of timing, Rich? I mean, given just for the committee's information, education, the additional district dollars give us,
Chairman, if it's
Yeah.
only for the committee, there's some people who are not on the committee, then they should not have that information.
yeah, well, the problem, this is a public meeting.
No, it's up to you. You're the chairman. I just want to say, since you said
Yeah,
it is for
yeah.
the committee, I try to back you
Okay.
up. I need to protect my chairman.
All right, okay, thank you, Bobby. No, I was just concerned because when, I mean, I think this is good news, but I also think it's good news to a point. That's why I'm trying to expound upon it, is that when we started the year, we were looking at a cliff towards April of 2021 in terms of cash availability. And then we have picked up an additional $50 million from the district we didn't expect, which I think helps us through at least the last quarter of 2021, because we're still losing money. I mean, the hospital and the nursing home together are still losing money. So it's burning cash. And this excess cash that we've gotten is giving us a longer runway for the staff to begin to implement some of the changes to hopefully reduce the cash burn so we can stabilize the corporation. So it looks like with additional $50 million that we're getting in DSRIP, that pushes us through, and I'll ask Rich to tell me if I'm right or wrong here. That pushes us through essentially 2021, I think. Would that be correct, Rich?
Yeah, that's about right. Because if you remember, we were going to the state asking for an additional 60 million.
Yeah.
This is 50 of that 60. But do keep in mind that, as we talked about, we're preparing the budget now. And just based upon preliminary projections, even from a year ago, DSRIP is going away completely. We have this windfall, let me call it, of the 50 million, and we only budgeted for 11 million this year because that was the end of the program. An offshoot of that is the VBP QIP program, which is a value-based purchasing program. We have in our budget $20 million in an award for 2020 this year. That will receive probably in October, but that also goes away. And when you look at, and I'll go back to our original budget of $86 million, or 86.1, that we budgeted this year, COVID has impacted that in many ways favorably because of the CARES Act, because of the increased case mix and all. However, when you look at 2021, it's the $86 million as a starting point because the district goes away by 11 million that we budgeted in that number, and $20 million that we budgeted for VBP. There's no grant for 2021. So that 30 million adds to the $86 million loss. On top of that, the health benefits will go up because it goes up every year because health benefits are going up. Pharmaceutical cost goes up every year. The CSEA contract that we have has a 2% COLA increase, and the state is cutting back on the Medicaid rates because they have a $14 billion deficit this year and a projected 16 million next year. When you put all of that together, before we even start with any budget initiatives or operational changes, we're looking at a projected loss for 2021 of about $145 million. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody. That's just the math of it. Because as we've seen over the last year or two, all of these supplemental, let me call it, supplemental New York State programs that have been helping us to continue operations, they're slowly going away, and they're going away even more now because the state has a problem. So although we do have a lot of cash and we do have a little better runway, we do have to make some changes to sustain ourselves and ask the state to help us in that process because, although they have a problem, they need to recognize that we have a problem as well as we transform ourselves into whatever we'll ultimately transform ourselves into.
So that 145 million, Rich, that what you're projecting, you haven't solidified it yet, but that's bottom line after OPEB and retirement and everything, right?
No, that's before that.
That's before it.
Yeah, that syncs up with the 86 million.
All right, okay, all right, okay.
Usually we budget about a $35 million OPEB on top of that.
All right. So what do you think? I'm just worried about cash. So I'm not just cash, but so if we're going to increase our burn rate next year, is our projection for the end of 2021 with this additional 50 million still true, or what do you think?
We can true that.
Now, this I do want to also, the caveat here is that as you referred to, the September 19th guidance from the feds has potentially changed the utilization of the CARES dollars, which might also help us.
Yes.
But put the CARES dollars aside for right now, and because we don't know that yet for 100%. But the DSRIP dollars, the additional 50 million we're getting now, and access to the 34 we've got in the bank, will that put us through 2021?
I would say yes, because included in that number is about $20 million of depreciation.
Okay.
And with the arrangement we have right now with NISHIP, that benefits us cash-wise as well. So in broad numbers, yes. I'll be able to answer you better once we come up with the actual budget and we see what all the numbers truly come out to. But in broad strokes, yes.
So, and that 145 million includes the payment to NISHIP that we're not making on current premium.
It includes it as an expense, even though we're not paying it.
I got it. Okay. All right. All right.
You know, we're paying a portion of it.
Chairman, may I have a question?
I'm
Right
done.
ahead.
Yeah. I'm also.
Okay. Rich, as you know, and Chairman knows, and some new board member come to know that you had made a statement saying, oh, this trap is gone. We're not going to get any money. It's all gone. But the fact is, you and others was not expecting anything. Say, it's done, it's over, it's over. But then we got $50 million.
Yes.
Okay. But all of you thought that's done, over, we're never going to see a penny.
Right.
And thank you, Chairman, for recognizing it. I greatly appreciate that. So my argument was then, my argument is today. Don't give me the true picture, but don't assume all negative. Give me some positive, such as this 50 million plus others. We're talking about where we running the cash, we running out. It gave us a better chances today than ever to put our cardio program, our surgery programs to generate more income, which we did not have those leverage, Chairman, before you came on board. And we appreciate, doesn't matter how the money comes in. We are in a better situation today than ever. We lose more cases due to not having cardio programs. If we all fight and every elected official so-called say, I'm for the community, nonsense. They are not for the community, they're pretending for the community. If we really are for the community, we should have our cardio lab, and it will carry us through and through, because there's so many of our patients pass by our hospital because we don't have cardio. And I hope with the 50 million what we have plus more, we are in a better situation today to force for the best interest of our patient, for our community, to have our cardio approved. And I hope, Chairman, you join me for this fight, for this hospital. We should have it when little dinky pinky hospitals getting approval and we trauma number 1 center not getting it. It's a shame, and we should have it. We will have it. And I hope NIFA, I know, Carl, you are listening to me. You guys come out and help this hospital, not to hurt this hospital and the community. NIFA is a watchdog for the best interest of our community. I know, Robert Detour, you will join me for this community to get our cardio program and not have our old machine of MRIs compromise. We won't compromise. We are in a better situation today than ever. I humbly request and I strongly support and fight for the community. We will overcome. And thank you if I emotionally said anything more strongly. Thank you.
Well, Bobby, I commend your dedication to the hospital and hope that we can achieve that. But I can tell you, and I'd like to stand corrected if it's accurate. The cardio program, there's two things. One, I've had numerous conversations on this cardio program with the state, and maybe you and other members of the board can push this thing through. But until we give a plan to the state that they feel is financially stable and sound, they have real serious concerns about approving it. And two is that from the numbers that I've seen from the consultant to put together the cardio program, that even if we were to have it, it will not solve the problem in terms of the total dollars that we're looking at. So it could be a piece of it though.
Thank
But
you, Chairman. I appreciate
the
that.
problem.
I hope you give me the chance to go and fight.
I
And
will,
we
yeah.
will bring.
Yeah.
You put me there, I will bring it with your help. With NIFA, without NIFA, whatever you say, we will. We will. You know why? They have obligation to this community. We have obligation to this community. This is the community need the most, cannot compromise. I don't care who it is a conflict of interest, and come to the a report of the chairman of the consultants. Like I said last time, their report is not even worth a toilet paper. Thank you.
Rich, I have a question about timing. When do you think the 2021 budget will come to the Finance Committee?
I would hope it would be for the December meeting.
Okay.
November.
Of course, we'd like
If
it.
we can do it sooner, we will.
What do you do, Rich?
And as much as advance as possible, since it's, give the committee a chance to digest it. So whenever you do release it, please, let's talk about giving the committee a good chance to review it so they can be thoroughly educated on it.
I just
Sure,
got
of course, we would be very interested in it as well.
Yeah. I have a question. In the past, then, if you don't have the budget for the committee until December, if there's questions and they're not ready to pass it, what do you do? And historically, have you passed like a continuing resolution to operate on the pre-budget until you approve the new one? What do you do?
We've had the meeting in January if we can't do it in December, and passed it in January in the past.
Because you have to have a budget. You have to have something passed to draw money off of it.
I'm saying we've had things not passed in December, and we've done it the last week of December, in between the holidays. We've done it the first week of January in the past. It's gone to the full board and not the finance committee, and just we've done everything at board meetings
But Megan, if the committee was still drilling down, just a procedural question. I don't know
That's never happened here.
the answer to that is if it happens. So you've never done that where you pass a continuing resolution to operate on the past. Okay. All right.
Chairman, let me help you since I passed through the both circumstances. Your question is very important. As long as it was the agreement of the management and the board, we had compromise to what Megan said in January. It was the compromise of the board that regardless of if we had we never had the meeting before until you came around. Finance committee meeting never happens. So I'm glad, as much as I disagree with you, I wanted you to know that I appreciate all the sentiment you allowed. I thank you.
Keep in mind, this is 2020 when anything can happen.
True. It's true.
Procedurally,
Things happen anytime. It doesn't matter 2020 or 2019. Trust me. Every year there's a new surprises. We did not had a wonderful $1.5 billion and a genius Jan Figueroa, and even Robert Dito Napolitano with Bisky on, they are new, and thank God they are. And trust me, nobody's more happy than me and probably Linda Reed to have them as a partners.
Procedurally, I assume that the budget goes to the finance committee, then a recommendation goes to the board to adopt it. Is that the way we?
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we've done.
It's supposed to be that way, but
That's parliamentary
it's supposed to be
procedure.
that way, but Megan said, we did had bypass with the agreement of the chairman of the finance committee to move on. Am I right, Megan, or not?
It's always gone to the full board.
Yes.
And there's always been a question and answer period at the full board. Like I said, last year it didn't go to the finance committee at all, but even when it has gone to the finance committee, it's always, there's been an opportunity for the full board to review it and ask questions to the finance director.
Because
And if it needed
I'm on other
it, if it
finance
needed
committees,
it,
and
they will
typically,
have put it on the immediate meeting. The chairman have the authority to do so.
Megan, I'm on other finance committee board members, and it's always goes to the finance committee with a recommendation to the board. It doesn't happen here?
No, I'm saying we've done that, but the full board has always had the opportunity at that meeting to review it and ask questions of the finance director.
Surely,
We've never, it did not go to our finance committee in years. We did not have a
No,
finance
but I
committee
think it
meeting in
should.
years.
I think it should go to the finance committee.
It definitely should. No, definitely.
There's no reason, I mean, I understand the crunch of a budget, and it's a big budget, so I mean, it's a lot of work. And if it comes into December and we're still chewing on it, there's no reason why you can't pass a continuing resolution and then take it up in January.
Correct.
You can. I'm just saying it hasn't happened. We haven't done that.
All right, okay, all right.
John,
Okay.
if you attended my first meeting of the finance committee meeting, why you think I was thanking the chairman, Bob Detour, even though we had a little bit rumble fumble, but I thanked him that day to even putting that meeting. I was the chairman of the finance committee of no region or nothing. There was no meetings.
Yeah.
Thank God we having a meetings.
Well, I fully expect that the finance committee will see the budget before
Good.
it goes to the board. Please let me know if there's any change in that procedure.
Right.
Okay.
We will get the budget done in November, so that we have a cushion. So we're going to be we're going to push to have the paperwork ready for November.
Okay, thank you.
John, may I ask a question?
Sure, go right ahead, Jan.
Thank you. Dr. Booten, at one of the previous meetings, I think in response to the consultant's work, you had a number of cost-saving and I thought really great things that you were going to do to either bring in revenue or reduce expenses. And is it safe to assume that those things will be considered as you're doing the budget?
Correct.
Okay.
Between A. Holly Patterson, we're going to try to bring in new programs over at A. Holly Patterson. We're going to do the OBS unit probably in the middle of October. So there's a lot of things that we're actually looking to do.
Yeah, I'm feeling very confident about the work that you're doing and how we're going to move the hospital forward. Thank you.
If there are no other questions, Rich, is there more to your report?
No, it's completed unless there's other questions.
My only question is, I don't know how many board members know. Megan have to go. I'm just kidding, because her husband's birthday, her birthday, they never celebrated. So I have no more question. Please let everybody go.
Well,
Happy birthday, Megan.
is there any new business to discuss? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make the motion to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, Chairman and Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you all for your attendance, and
Right.
see you shortly.
Thank you.
Jan raised it at the same time.
Okay.
So you can take either one. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.